Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show, it's about dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Kung Fu. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's focus on, the Shin family situation. Obviously, they're celebrating, the Lunar Year, and obviously, Mei Li and Jin, because they've been doing so well business-wise, and they've kind of represent kind of like a pillar of the community, what their restaurant is able to do. And I love that Mei Li was kind of hesitant about doing it, because I think it is kind of I think it's a little bit of that Asian aspect of Asian culture isn't too much about bragging. That's kind of something, so it's she doesn't want to come off very braggadocious or anything like that. It's just she just wants, it's just about just kind of right, we're doing our work, we're doing our job, and we're very lucky and happy to have the success we have. But I love that, obviously she was kind of reluctant at first, but then as the interview was going on just a tiny bit, we got into it, we got to see how much it kind of shined through. And kind of interestingly enough, on that front, though, it is interesting. Just let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. You can tell, I'm curious to see what that means for the Shin family as a whole, because Jin ran into someone that they know, Frank, and it's his family isn't doing so well. So it turns out he's here, because Jin was oh, I don't see your order. He's yeah, because the name's under Patrick. He's yeah, see? So he's doing kind of a delivery service, kind of like a Postmates or a DoorDash type of thing, where he's picking up people's deliveries. They don't have enough income, business isn't doing well, so he had to find extra income on top of it. And Jin's realizing we are very lucky that they were struggling a little bit, but now they found their groove. Sadly, not other people they found are having as much success. So I'm curious to see in the long run what that means for them. Is that going to be a situation where they eventually reach out, try to help other people too? Because they are these are restaurants, these are families we know that are just as strong, as much as a big part of the community as we are, just as big of a part of the community as we are. So we've got to help each other out. Or is it just kind of that could easily be us if things were different? So I'm curious to see in the long run how that plays out. Obviously, that side of things also plays with the Ryan and Sebastian, because I kept bringing it up last episode, do they know each other? But I think it's Ryan was kind of taken back seeing Sebastian be whoa. And so their times together throughout this episode, it's just Sebastian's okay, I asked you said 5 minutes ago you'd be on top of that. It's you cut yourself, didn't you? He was yeah, because you rearranged stuff. If I had to take all the time looking for the knives, and it's yeah, I was looking, Sebastian was I made it so that it'd be a lot more efficient. But I don't know, there was a little bit of flirtation there. I was oh. And the moment his mom came around, he was very bashful. Granted, him and his mom are good about his whole, being gay. It's a situation where him and his family are a lot more accepting of that whole situation. They support him. So I wonder, is it just him? Because he's kind of, as we've seen, kind of delved into the whole avenue of, I'm kind of playing the fields. I'm not really settling down. The last committed relationship he had was Joe, and I think that made him kind of probably reluctant to really kind of put him, because that was a relationship where he put himself out there, and it was him being more open about it with his family and stuff. He even had Joe meet his family, so it complicates things a bit. So I'm curious, is that kind of his reluctancy, especially because it's someone that's working with your family, so it makes it a little awkward. Either way, it was just kind of a cute moment where his mom was walking, and she's oh, have you seen my earrings? And he's yeah, they're over there. And so I thought that was interesting. And then Sebastian giving him the Band-Aid, it's you might need a few stitches, but you'll live. So I'm curious to see where things kind of go on that front. But circling to the Nikki thing, Nikki is obviously doing everything she can to find out exactly why Russell Tan is after her, because it's we are both descendants of this warrior bloodline, but why specifically Mia and not Nikki? Especially because you would think he would come after Nikki, because it's you stopped this plan of gaining all the weapons last season, so if he had a vendetta against you, it'd be that. But it's no, he's not even paying you any attention. It's do whatever you're doing, I want Mia. Why? And from the very beginning, you kind of feel Mia's not saying everything, and it's not. She's not. She's keeping some stuff to herself, and I think as the episode progressed, I was she has a hard time trusting people, because for a long time, the only family she had is her mom. So for her, it's like, right, we're blood related, Nikki, but we're not actually family, which is so disheartening because Nikki's trying so hard. But I think for Mia, it's like, don't drag yourself into something that doesn't involve you. It's like, it does though. Like, I don't know where to like do her like research and stuff. She doesn't know that Nikki crossed paths with Russell. Like her plan, it's not just about helping you. Yes, that's a big part of it, but she wants to take down Russell because she knows he's a very bad guy. But Mia feels like she has to do everything on her own because it's like, right, this is what my mom trained me for. Because I think her mom, maybe she never expected, maybe she always hoped, but maybe she never knew that her daughter and her sister's daughter would ever cross paths, that they would be unified in a destiny, that their destinies would cross paths. Like maybe she never really knew that. I don't know if, because Mei Shi wasn't in Mei Li's life when she had children. Like, I don't think she was around because that's why Nikki thought she was dead. It's like, okay, so that was all before, like, Nikki was born, I believe. So, to my recollection, so she might not know that Mei Li had any kids at all. So that's probably why she didn't think much of it. It's just like, right, I'm gonna leave my sister out of, like, the destiny I have, and I don't want her mixed up in all this. And even if she knew that Mei Li had kids, she probably thought, like, right, I want them avoid getting mixed up in all of this, like what this destiny holds. It's my destiny. Sadly, it'll be passed on to my daughter. I want her prepared. But it's also like Mei Shi's need to protect her daughter ended up not preparing her for the world. It's like, right, she felt so closed off that she went off on her own. And obviously about it, like, I think there's the element of she has a lot of issues with herself because it's like, right, my mom prepared me for all of this. The family I got close to, my friends and everything, when I was in New York, all got killed. My mom's not around anymore. She was so alone in the world for a chunk of time that, like, for her, it's just hard to open up to people who are like, yeah, you're family, but you're blood related. Like, I only just found out about you guys, so you don't really feel like family to me. The people she lost that were friends, they were family. Her mom was family. These are strangers. We might be blood related, but we're strangers to each other. So every step of the journey, she keeps hiding stuff, even though she's figured some stuff out. For example, like, oh, she found that picture of her mom and who she believes to be her dad. And it's only when she finally opens up to Henry about it where she's like, right, Henry's like, now I understand why Russell's after you. You're special because not only you're from the same, like you and Nikki are from this warrior lineage, you're also on top of that, you come from a guardian family as well. So, because they only got because they're a guardian family, Pei Ling's family, and they're related to Nikki, but it's such a distant family relation that I think it might as well just be another family entirely. So I guess Nikki technically doesn't fall into that category of being special in that regard too. Of like, she has her connection and correlation to a guardian family, but it's not like as direct of a bloodline as it is in Mia's case, because it's like, right, she is a direct byproduct of a guardian family and a warrior family, whereas Mia's the direct correlation, where Nikki's a distant correlation. So that kind of that sets up the differences between them. But every step of the way, like, Mia wants to handle stuff on her own. Like I said, I get it. It's frustrating though when Nikki's trying so hard. And especially when Nikki says, like, don't do this on your own. She's like, do not make the same mistake I did. I pushed my family away for 3 years, and like her family nearly broke apart because she didn't know how to really handle the stresses of it all. But then, like, it's like now her and her family are good, but it almost could have been kaput. Like, her family was already drifting apart, and it's like, luckily we all came back together, so like we're here, we're family. And so Mia's like apologizes and bounces, so especially because it's like, right, Russell Tan has got an army, what are you gonna do? It's like, you can't trust them but it's also like, I think there's a part of, right, I don't want you mixed up in something that is on me. He's after me, not you. It's like, yeah, but we're family. Of course I'm going to help you, because she made a promise to her mom, like, I want to protect her. And so that's why she feels like a failure, because she's like, right. I think it is the situation of, because Mei Li was like, I couldn't be there for Mei Shi, but at the very least we can be there for Mia. And she made the promise to her mom that she would protect her no matter what. She feels like she let her mom down. Not only like, right, this is family I wasn't there for, but also my mom, I made this promise to my mom and I couldn't keep it. So I think all that culminates in just why Nikki at the end was just kind of, because Henry was like, no, we got to tell you, go tell you. She's like, I just want to sit here, because she doesn't want to break that news to her family with everything they're celebrating. It's just, my failure, she feels like a failure in that moment, which is heartbreaking. Because it's like, right, she's no closer at that point in time to stopping Russell Tan, plus Mia's in the win and Russell's going to find her, because now Russell knows, like, right, Sasha failed to capture her, so they try to keep that as low-key as possible because they found out Tony, and it is interesting, full circle, that the first, like, bad guy Nikki took down when she was back ends up working with Russell Tan. And obviously he's doing it because it's like, right, like, Russell's going to cut me into a slice of the pie, but Nikki convinces him, like, wow, you kind of ran things. Like, let me take down Russell because he's who I really want to go after. This is all yours again. But it's also the thing of, like, if you ever step out of line, like, I will. It's a means to an end right now, but Nikki would never let him run rampant again. And it's like, yo, the moment I can take down Russell and you served your purpose, I'm coming back to take you down too. Granted, obviously didn't bring that up to him, but I think that was kind of in Nikki's mindset from the beginning, but obviously, her and Evan are trying to find... The whole point is to try and connect Russell Tan to the kidnapping. Like, if they could at least take him down that way. But there's nothing that directly ties Russell to it. But there was a company that was connected to all of this. And it's like, okay, so what's that company's correlation and connection to this? Then looking into it, Evan finds out, wait a minute, there's a building that Russell was, like, adamant about buying. He's pretty much bought up every other property except he couldn't get this one, and now, like, after trying so long, he just bails out of it. Why? And they correlate it to, like, okay, 2 years ago, similar thing happened. Basically, there was a gas leak that burned the building down. He basically bought the rubble of that building and for super cheap. So they thought he was doing the same thing here, except instead of burning a building down, he's like, right, I need to get what I need to get. So he went to one of the buildings he owns nearby, exploded through one of the walls so he can get what was underneath the building in the first place. This way he also doesn't even have to buy it, so it's even cheaper and less struggle he has to deal with. So it turns out it's pieces to a bell. So last season, it was about assembling all 8 weapons. Now it's about assembling pieces to a bell, which it seems like he has most of the bell. I guess, like, the weapons were part 1. Like, if they're a means to an end, like, I guess they would have been a necessary piece. I guess he found another route, is what I'm wondering. Is it the thing is that, well, the power being returned to the earth, it benefits him. Maybe it's like, right, either I had the power or it's been returned to the earth. It helps me either way. Because maybe the bell can help access the energy that's been returned to the earth. And because he talks about it with his daughter about, like, right, he wants to shape this world and everything. So I guess that bell has mystical powers of its own, and maybe it correlates to that energy that's in the earth now. So it's kind of like a win-win to me. It's like either I had the power and I could use the bell to shift it, or it's part of the earth now, so now it benefits me that I can fully, like, control and shape that energy that's in the earth now to be what I want it to be, shift the world into what I want it to be. That's my current correlations. He's definitely got his, like, supervillain status of it. Like, almost feels like I'm seeking world domination. Maybe it's not straight up world domination. Maybe he has reasons for what. Like, Jilan has reasons for why she became the way she did. It was to fill voids inside of herself from everything that happened to her, like, life. Just how complicated and messed up everything is. Maybe Peter has the same thing going on, but we just know that that's what the symbol is, because, like, obviously the opening credits changed from specifically, like, the sword from last season, because it was supposed to represent, like, those weapons, but now it's the symbol for this, like, the opening credits. It's like, I couldn't tell what it was. It seemed, I didn't know if it was like a piece of armor, but now we know it's a bell. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. Speaking of, like, that we actually get to fully get introduced to, because he has other siblings as well, if I remember correctly, but we meet his sister, which is like, yeah, like, Kerwin's always been at, like, him and his siblings have always had we're pushed against each other, and he almost wonders, like, right, like, why did Dad save me? Why is it that Dad brought me back and is willing to forgive me for betraying him? Like, that was always, like, it never made sense to Kerwin, and so now, like, the fact is, he ends up, clean shaven, he's working out, pushing himself to get back to his, normal status. And his sister kept being like, right, don't worry too much about the past. Don't ask questions. Just kind of, you're better off not asking questions. It's just like, yeah, accept the gift that's been given to you. But we find out later on why she didn't want him to bring it up in front of their father, because it wasn't his choice 100%. She's the one that like, right, I'm the one that evac you out. I'm the one that convinced father to take you back. That was me. So despite our issues, you should be more grateful, because the fact is, I'm the reason why you're here in the first place. That's why I told you, forget about the past and not bring it up in front of the father, but you couldn't help yourself, you know? And because he brought up Gilan. I keep saying Gilan, but it's like Gilan. I just keep mispronouncing it every time. Like, I want to say lawn instead of land. It's just the way my brain is. When I see it like written out, I want to say Gilan instead of Gilan. But he brought her up, and Russell was like, don't you ever bring that woman's name up in front of me again. Get out. You know, because his sister kept being like, I told you not to bring up the past. Because she's trying to, like, schmooze close to her father, find out what he's up to. Because when it comes to, like, his quote-unquote, I guess, more legitimate business practices, she's kind of the head honcho of all that. She's the one that's in control, and now she's trying to get closer. I'm curious, what for? Is it the simple situation of, hey, trying to have a leg up on your brother? Or does she have her own reasons why she's trying to get close? Because is she trying to put herself in a position so that she plans on snatching this all from her father when she gets the opportunity? Or she just want to be in the inner circle of knowing what he's up to? Either way, a death squad was sent after Gilan, which you can tell Kerwin was like, oh, she doesn't matter to me. It's like, yeah, she does. And his sister's like, the moment you saw her, you became smitten with her, especially someone who wanted to stand up against your father, someone who wanted to take your father down. As someone who holds so much resentment for him the way Kerwin does, that's why he's found a lot of commonality between him and Gilan. It's like, we both want to take him down. We both want the power and strength, because this man ruined our lives in very different ways. So, and speaking of Gilan, obviously she's continued being haunted by Pei Ling, but it's like, right, I'm not worried about the past. If I could, I'd kill you all over again, because yes, I've had to deal with everything. What Russell Tan did to us, I almost came so close to getting my revenge. The fact is, he's the reason why Mom died. I had to live with the fact is that you killed our father, that I was in the condition I was in because of Russell Tan. I almost had my revenge against him, but my only real regret is that I had the power and I lost. That's my failure. And so she's like, what, you're trying to take me down the path to redemption, sister? And Pei Ling is like, no. You right now, I wouldn't even worry about redemption, because right now, you're practically walking around, you're a shell of your former self. You might as well be dead right now. The question is, maybe you can redeem yourself, but that's not for right now. The real question right now, first and foremost, that needs to be answered, do you want to live? And she has to make that decision first and foremost. Like, no matter what, like, she doled herself in that moment. Like, right, she was getting punked by that prisoner, and it's like, she could fight back, but it's like, right, you didn't want to. That spark in you, the only thing that kept her going was revenge. And now that, like, she failed, it broke her down, because now all she's left with is her mistakes, things that she claims she doesn't regret, like Pei Ling, Kerwin, because she's still under the impression she killed Kerwin. So I'm curious what's going to happen when she finds out he's actually alive, when they do eventually meet, because you know they will. Because despite everything, Kerwin was kind of upset when he heard, like, wait, you're seeing a death squad after her? So, but when the time came, Gilan fought to survive and pulled off some John Wick shit. I say that as someone who's only seen fractions of, like, previews of John Wick. I've never seen John Wick, but, like, yo, I don't think we've ever seen her, like, she's actually really proficient in guns. Like, I don't think we've only seen her fight with weapons, like the 8 weapons, we only saw her use those, and her own, like, hand-to-hand martial arts skills. So, didn't know she was super proficient in firearms. I guess it's like, right, you gotta be prepared for anything. Took down that whole squad herself, was vicious. I was like, that's sick. I felt bad for that poor bastard. I was like, ooh, wrong time to reload. Hiding behind a pillar trying to reload. It's like, ooh, poor bastard. And I love that when she was looking at the other prisoners and they were looking at her and she's got that last guy and she just snaps his neck. I was like, yeah, she's back. And so she sets a fire, like, whether she's going to straight up burn down the entire prison or whether it's just for the purpose of, by setting this fire, you're going to be so distracted with that, you're not going to notice me walking out. So she ends up leaving. I don't know if she killed the others. She definitely killed that lady, and she makes sure not to take the necklace because it's like, right, that's the past. I'm done drowning in the past. But I doubt she's seen the last of Pei Ling. I think it's such a neat, like I brought it up last episode, all of last season, Nikki saw Pei Ling because she needed to. I think the same thing has happened with Jilan this season, that she's going to be hunted by her sister even going forward. Like, yeah, you moved past all this and you left the necklace behind, but whether or not that's still going to come back, whether it's like, oh, she's going to eventually come back, find that lady's body and get it back, or whether it just got burned to a crisp because that's her letting go of the past, I don't know. But Jilan is back in the story. I was curious to see. I figured she'd get, like, back. There's no way that she'd stay locked up the entire season. I also wasn't expecting her to get, like, out of prison this early. It's only episode 2, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how all these stories converge, because they're all coming down to the same point. It's like, right, Nikki wants to take down Russell, so does Jilan, and probably these former enemies are going to have to work together to become allies, because Nikki's going to need all the help she can to protect her cousin while also stopping Russell from doing whatever he's trying to do. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where that takes us. Another element to this episode I forgot to talk about is the whole Althea thing, which I think, like, what do you want from her, Gwen? You're upset because it's like, oh, cool, you're working on, like, okay, you can work on, it seems like her biggest issue is, like, right, you're working on a side project in front of other people. Once again, the whole premise behind the business is don't work hard, work hard, but rest hard. It's almost like, don't get so caught up in it all. Gotta chillax and relax. And Nikki's like, wait, is your boss gonna have an issue? And it's like, do you see my workspace? And Nikki looks around and is like, yeah, okay. And so Gwen's issue is like, right, you're working in front of other people, because I guess it's like, right, if you're working on side projects and doing other stuff, now it kind of like, oh, you're a little bit of a buzzkill in the chillaxed energy that exists in this place. Then you told her not to work on side projects in front of people. Then she got in one of the pods. I'm like, you don't want her working on side projects in front of people. Technically, she's working on stuff with her sister, so it's, to be fair, it's on the more illegal side, but she can't let you know that. But it is the thing of like, right, you didn't want her working on stuff in front of other people, so she found a place to be alone to do it without you criticizing her, but you do it either way. I'm like, what do you want from her, Gwen? But I get it. This place, that pod's supposed to be a chillaxing place, and she broke the sanctity of it by working in it. And so for Althea, it's like, right, like, don't you want more? Like, we could all be more, but some people, one dude in particular is like, I like working here. It's better than working at a game company through crunch. I'm like, ooh, that's hitting home. Not like but that's something you hear about a lot about video games. It's like, right, game companies pushing for crunch. Crunch being like major overtime, like making people work extremely hard, trying to get a video game out by a certain date. So like, because you don't really get compensated for crunch. It's just like, right, you have to work. You're going to work yourself to death. Like, you hear that too much. It comes up too often in the video game industry. I'm sure there's crunch not even just in the video game industry. I'm sure like every facet of any industry, there's probably some of it, but I think it's really prominent in like the video game industry, but it's probably really prominent in the entertainment industry in general. But Althea wants more from this job, so we see her just walk away at the end. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of happens for her next this season. Like, everyone's got their side stories going on when it comes to the Shin family. It's going to be interesting to see what that ends up taking them in the long run, along with all the other craziness that's happening. Because first and foremost, like, you can tell Althea and Ryan want to get, like, they've already been a part of all this. So it's like, oh, like, let me help. Because even Ryan was like, wait, you're just putting me on, like kitchen duty? He's like, no, I want to actually help out. So I'm sure for both of them, any opportunity to step up to help in this regard, they're all for it. So, but what else they're going to do with their personal lives is going to be interesting to see over the course of the season as well. But I'm excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.